Hello, welcome to the You'll Have That podcast. This is episode number 4. I'm here with Twiz and Wasep, and we got a whole bunch of topics today. Hopefully, you guys are all having a lovely old Friday today. Whenever this gets uploaded, who knows? Like I said, we have a lot of topics to talk about today. There's been a lot going on since our last episode, whether it be just in the like the real life world, online, you name it. There's some sort of controversy going down, and we're all going to talk about it. All right. Let us get started today. Also, just want to ask, how are my two coworkers doing today?
We're good. Thanks for asking. I know you're a little bit under the weather, so thanks for making it out for the episode.
Yeah,
And
of
um,
course.
and
I'm
sorry
good,
everyone,
as
we're
always.
a little bit late on Friday, but we had some technical difficulties on Tuesday, so we pushed it to Friday. But we're here. We're doing it this week. So, shall we delve right in?
Yep, yep. All
Yeah,
right.
I guess we'll start with these crazy people getting behind the wheel with their AR headsets. Like that's not illegal.
Specifically
Uh,
the Apple AR
yeah, the
headset, yeah.
Apple Vision or whatever it
The Vision
is.
Pro, right?
Yeah, it's insane to me. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's a pretty cool headset and stuff like that. But personally, in my opinion, I think they should remain in your house. I mean, you're gonna get behind the wheel of a car and start answering. What are you gonna looking like you're
All right. I gotta
fondling
ask.
invisible things? Like, what's going on?
Right, right.
I gotta ask. I'm not too educated on like the whole Apple VR headsets. I've seen like pictures of them. Are they like actual like full on VR headsets, or are these just like the
So these
typical?
are augmented reality headsets, but like literally you can have like a like 150 or 200-inch like span television sitting in front of you, and you can also have like your text messages, your FaceTimes, and it's weird but kind of cool. So whenever you do FaceTime in this thing, it like projects what it thinks that you should look like, I think from a picture or something. I'm not entirely sure. But a lot of people are like, this thing makes me look very, very weird.
It
Like you
uses
still kind
AI
of look
to scan
like
your picture.
yourself.
And then it has
Yeah.
it has iris tracking, so it'll actually track your eyes as you're FaceTiming. So it'll make a whole entity of you, essentially, an AI entity, while you're FaceTiming, so it looks like you're not wearing the mask and you're
But
FaceTiming.
you can tell that it's not
It's not
you.
100%, but
Like
it's
I've
surprisingly
seen
good.
like yeah, I've seen like content creators and stuff like show what it's projecting or whatever,
Mhm.
and it looks like you, but you can tell it makes them look weird. So
It definitely looks
that's
artificial, right? And I
yeah,
think to kind of hone in on some things for our viewers that don't know about this headset as well as Jibun, um, think of an Oculus Rift, but it's just got better cameras and its overall objective is more AR versus VR. But it
yeah.
is
So
completely closed out. So you don't, if the screens are off in it, you will not see anything of the outside world. So there's no pass
right,
through. It is using cameras completely. It's all cameras, which is
yep,
fine. But I think it goes without saying here is when you're driving, you need peripheral vision, which is something that it struggles with. It can't do this area right here. Like you can't see anything here. You can see straight ahead, and that's fine. But you can't, like, if there's a car coming and you're in an intersection and it's coming from your left to right, you won't see it till like it's in the middle of the intersection, and then you'll see it. Not to mention distracted driving, people putting on a movie or something. I mean, there's quite obviously an issue with that. Same with wearing earbuds, for example, while driving. I don't think that's safe either because you can't hear if there's a motorist or something like that. So
but wearing earbuds is legal to do. My thing is whether you're walking around or driving, like you said, the peripheral.
mhm.
Um, even whenever you're walking around, like whenever you're going through a crosswalk, what if someone's not paying attention driving and doesn't see the red light or whatever and
Yep.
decides to blow through it, and there you are, like you're looking this way, you can't see anything over here, and
And there's an excellent video of Casey
oops.
Neistat actually doing a whole entire day vlogging with the headset on in New York. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's a good watch. I suggest you guys go watch it. It's it's definitely still got a bit to go. I think it's definitely like a beta product. So you guys are buying into that beta of like where this technology could go, but it's not there yet. It's very clear it's not there yet.
Here's what I want to know: how much does it cost? I haven't seen the prices.
$3,500 to four
3,500.
thousand dollars. It is not a cheap product.
Okay, so that's like I want to put that into perspective. That's like the price of 3 Valve indexes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very expensive, and it's got the Apple tax, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, my phone.
It's
Yeah, no, that's it's almost the price of like 3 premium VR headsets. Number one. Number two, you tell me people are driving it like outside, or driving on the streets and walking around with this thing on.
And it looks so
yes.
weird. It's very bulky in the front. It's just like an Oculus, so it's
And
very
to
Are
bulky.
we?
and to not only add on to the VR headset part, but apparently this battery that comes with now the battery is not inside of the device. You actually have to have this wire that goes to like this battery pack, and it's not as big as most cell phones. Like the milliamp hours is not as big as most cell phones. So what happens whenever you're driving around and this
It
thing
just shuts off.
dies?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not just gonna die. So it will. You have a battery indicator, and it will tell you like low battery. It does
Well,
have those
Well,
features.
anything has
Well,
that.
yeah,
What
but
he's saying is like,
we all know about Apple users. Their
Oh, well,
battery on their phone can tell them that it is dying
right,
2 hours before it does,
right.
and they continue using it, and then they're surprised when their phone dies.
Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
a fair point. That's very fair.
So, yeah.
that it kind of gives me like Ready Player One vibes. Seeing people walk around with a $3,500 Apple headset almost like just every day, like it's no problem. Is that going to become like the future? And is this going to lead to more problems than what we're seeing right now?
Well, probably, but also if you think about Ready Player One, no one was walking around in reality with those on. They were in their own little
It was
spaces,
complete virtual reality.
right?
This is augmented reality. So it's its whole purpose is to enhance the like you can watch a show, but that you still see people behind you. So it's not fully there yet. But that does bring a good question or a good statement per se, and a good thought experiment per se. Is and I think Casey said this as well. Casey Neistat said this gives us a glimpse, I think, into what the future will be with regards to like our phones and stuff like that. I think in the future we won't have phones as they are, but maybe glasses, something like Apple's headset, but just glasses. You put them on, you can chat, you swipe it away, done. You look at your text, maybe you talk or something, and it responds.
But to be honest, not to cut you off or anything, and I'm sorry for cutting you off. In my opinion, I don't like that. I don't like that. We're already having an issue where you go out to dinner with someone or you go out with friends, and the majority of people spend more time on their phones than actually looking at you in your face
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
and speaking to you, and like that connection
It's almost
that
lost.
you
Yeah.
used to be able to get back, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, stuff like that is starting to get completely lost. Now we're going to add possibly these glasses where you never know if someone is actually paying attention or giving you 100% of their attention.
That's
I
a
mean,
very fair point. Yeah.
it's real hard to give someone 100% of your attention if your glasses that you have on is
Hmm.
popping up notifications and stuff, and you're reading text messages or reading an article or scrolling through Instagram,
And you wouldn't know exactly, right?
and nobody would ever
right.
know because at the very least we know if someone is,
Yeah, they're
picking
looking
up their
down.
phone
Right, right, right.
and scrolling through their phones, but
Well, maybe in the future, in the next coming years, there'll be in glasses where you can just take your glasses off, set them aside, and there's a notification LED in them to where you can still see that you're getting a call or something, but they're off of your face. So maybe it's just changing the interface that we use versus a phone to now glasses. Maybe that's what we're going for.
To be honest, I think within 20 years it won't be phones, it won't be glasses, it'll be like something like Elon Musk's dumbass Neuralink. And at that point, I'm not doing it.
I
Like I
don't
will
think
straight up disconnect.
I don't think
You're
so.
not boring a hole in my head
I
so
don't
that I
think we're
can
there
use a
yet,
phone.
and neither do I think the vast majority of people want that. For people with disability, I think that's the first thing that they should look into. That's something I think that the medical field could very much learn from is trying to do something with, you know, having implants. They already have it for people that are deaf, for example.
Well, yeah,
They
they
have
have the
that
what is it called? The
cochlear
cochlear,
implants.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, which is
implants.
fantastic. That's amazing technology. Now I think you bring up a good point though with the whole might transition just to the Neuralink thing. I don't think that's the case, and primarily because Elon does this often. He has this idea and he overmarkets it to get investors, and then it gets dropped.
More like
Right,
it falls apart because
right, exactly, exactly. But I just thought this was a cool
never mind.
topic, you know. A, it's Apple, so it's overpriced. B, I think Casey said it the best. This is an early adopters thing. I mean, you're literally paying to be part of a beta group essentially, because there's a lot of bugs. It has issues tracking a lot if you're moving. So I don't think it's necessarily intended to be used as like you put it on all day and that's it.
Well, yeah, because he got on the subway, right?
Yeah,
So he gets
and he
on the
was
subway,
watching a YouTube screen,
and
and the subway moved,
was
and
it
the screen. Yeah,
was it a YouTube screen or did
no,
he
it
pull
was a
up
YouTube.
his text messages?
It was a YouTube screen.
All right, so the train or the subway started to move, and the screen.
The screen followed like where it was, so it's like he moved away from it. Now, this also brings a good feature that Apple did though, where they make it seamless, this is why it's an AR headset. They make it seamless when you start walking, moving, everything gets pushed away. So it is very nice in that aspect of you don't have to
Well,
think like, oh, let me minimize all my windows and then we can. No, it's just as soon as you
well,
walk,
now
everything goes off.
to that point, yes, if they're pinned. Okay, so you have to pin them to be stationary. Otherwise, they will follow you around like the
Oh,
Oculus.
oh, okay, okay, I didn't know that.
So
Okay,
so you do have to pin them because I was
gotcha.
watching a YouTube video of a dude where he had bought them and he
Yeah,
set up his house. Like he got rid of his TV and everything because you know, it's only him
that's
and his
fair.
dog,
Yeah.
you know. So he gets them, he gets rid of his TV, whatever. So he pinned where his like Netflix, his all of his like streaming stuff is like in this living room, and then he could do another pin in the bedroom or
Oh
whatever.
wow, so when
And
he
then
walks
like
into that room, it automatically will bring up Netflix and stuff?
yeah, even whenever he walks out of the room, he can still hear it. He just can't see it unless he pauses
Wow.
it. All right.
Wow.
So then he also had like cooking YouTube videos
In the
over the
kitchen. Yeah,
stove.
yeah, 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 okay.
Right? That he could pause and play or whatever. He had,
Hmm.
his, Instagram feed, like, where he would normally sit on the couch. It's over here out of the way of the TV pin, and it's really cool. Like I said, in the house,
Yeah.
yeah, like, or
I never thought
in
of
a
it
home
like that.
office or something,
Yeah.
great.
That's actually
But
really crazy. That's you can almost
to take it out in
replace.
the wild,
Well, yeah,
not
but you can
really.
almost replace like all of your most of the tech in your house with just a headset now. Which
Right.
I didn't think about that before, and granted, now that I think about it, that's maybe that's what Apple wanted. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. Instead of having
But
like 3 TVs, 4 TVs in your house and all this other stuff, why not just get this headset? Save on electricity and all that. Yeah, go ahead.
but here's the problem. That only works when you're a single person in a single
Oh,
house.
yeah. Now,
Other
if they could sync it with multiple people, that would be amazing.
I'm sure they can, but at the same time, all those people have to have headsets,
Right,
right?
right, right, right.
So then you're spending, if you have 3 people in your house, you're spending $10,500 minimum. So,
But I
is it
wonder
cost effective?
for a minimalistic person, you are saving money by not buying a TV and all that other stuff
So
and speaker
so
system and whatever.
if it was just me,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Just me, and I lived alone with me and a pet, whatever. Sure, I would buy this. I wouldn't buy TVs anymore because like I can make my TV as big as I want.
Right. Right.
It's 4K, great. But in a multi-person household,
It starts to fall apart. The
it's
proposition's not as high.
you're right. For a single person, it makes sense because yeah, maybe you would save some money.
Yeah.
But you add just one more person. You
That's a
might as
big
well.
investment. Yeah.
That's the price of like 3 or 4
Or
of the
like
best OLED
yeah, exactly. I
TVs
was
you
about to
can
say like
get.
that's the best of the best for for that price. Jaboon, you've been
Right.
quiet. What do you think about all this?
About like just like the whole like headset thing.
Just yeah, like what do you think about this technology? How people use it? What do you think?
I think the technology is a good step. I will say that much. I think having it be almost seamless and be able to take it with you on the go, aside from things like the Quest 2 and all that. The Quest, Meta Quest 3, whichever one's the newest one. I don't follow VR anymore. Um, it's a great jump for the technology. I will say that much. Great jump. They're doing a good job. I don't like that Apple's release is kind of like you're buying into like an early access. I mean, that's every Apple product. I'm gonna say that right now. It's gonna be a hot take, but I think every Apple product, or almost every Apple product, you're paying for like an early access. I've had an
Their
iPhone
phones
6
on
before.
laptops, I think, are not, but yeah.
I don't care too much for Apple's warranty. I don't care for their customer service. That may make me sound really biased, which I get if it does, but
Their
technology
pricing.
wise, it's good. The pricing, yes.
That's their biggest drawback is their pricing. I will say if you pay for Apple Care and stuff like that, their warranty is really good, but that is
Well,
an
you gotta
additional
pay
cost on
exactly.
top of that premium cost you already paid
Hmm.
for whatever device. Um, I have an Apple phone. I have an iPad. I enjoy them both. I do, but I will say that there are things that Samsung and Android does do better, one of which is pricing and, you know,
Well, even
as
Samsung with its pricing lately, it's pretty much iPhone pricing. With the S24 Ultra, it's $1,300 starting.
I mean,
So I think you can't say that Samsung's cheaper necessarily, but the features Samsung
but whenever
offers are
you
more.
look at but if you look at the features, like what you're getting for that price,
Is a
okay,
lot more, yeah.
is a lot more than Apple.
That's true.
With Apple, you're stuck in this ecosystem. And then if you also look on the other side of the coin in Samsung's ecosystem, not just their phones, but if you look at
Hmm.
their tablets are cheaper
Yeah, yeah,
than Apple's, and you get all of those extra little goodies with it.
right, right.
So on that aspect, I will still say that Samsung is price to features is
Oh, so
like,
way
"Okay,
surpasses Apple.
Apple,
Yeah,
what
right,
what are you
absolutely.
doing?" Granted, yes, I bought an iPad. The only reason why I bought it is because I got a really, really good deal on it from Micro Center. Um, that's why I went with
Hmm.
Apple this time. Will I go with Apple in the future? It depends.
Well, I think with their iPads, and not to get too off topic, I think we'll cut it here. But their software with their iPads is very refined and very seamless. Whereas I don't know if this is the case anymore, but I had a buddy who got the S9 tablet, and after about 6 months, it started with its bugginess and lagginess and all that.
I
So
think you're talking about the S5 or S6 because I think their newest tablet is the S8,
oh,
is
I'm
it not?
sorry. Okay, in that case, maybe it was the S6 or 7. Then yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, with the newest one, along with the phones and stuff, from what I've seen and the reviews I've watched and all of that, their tablets and stuff are very seamless now. Their OS is very much refined and everything like that.
okay.
So,
Way more user friendly too. I will
yeah.
say that much.
Yeah.
Like with Samsung, and we got to segue off this too. I want to add on to it because I've been a Samsung boy for the past few years. Samsung, at least with Samsung, if you want to load stuff onto your phone that's third party, anything like that,
No problem.
no problem. You go
Yeah.
to Apple though,
Oh God.
Yeah,
Apple is a nightmare.
there's hoops. That is a lot of hoops. Yeah.
I can't even. Okay, so like to add on to what Jaboon just said. So, for example, Android boys, and I was Android all the way up until I got this phone. So I've had this phone for about what, a year and a half.
A year, I think. Yeah.
Prior to that, all Samsung. I could go to Zedge, I could download whatever
Ringtone, all
ringtone
that.
or text message notification, any kind of notification tone,
Yep.
and seamless plug and play, download it, set it, forget it.
Yep.
With this thing, I've had the same exact one ringtone that I downloaded and used whatever GarageBand.
Yeah, you have to do
And
this whole thing with GarageBand and import it as a track and export it as a ringtone. It's too many hoops to jump through for something so simple. And
yeah,
Right.
and
Like
yeah,
and it's where, we have harped on scummy companies for the past 3 episodes. And again, it is where Apple is trying to be scummy and make you pay for a ringtone
yeah,
from Apple Music.
right, exactly.
They're trying to make it so much of a headache that you're just like, you know what? I'll pay the
The convenience factor,
$1.
right?
I'll pay the $1 or the $2. I've seen some
a
of them go for
GarageBand
$3
loop.
and $4 to not have to use this GarageBand loop, to not have to import, export 50 million times and finally get it in, for what, a 30-second clip of a song?
Yep,
Not to mention you aren't gonna hear all the time, so it's like just trust
exactly.
MP3 files, man. Like there's got to be a better alternative aside from trying to steal people's money. Well, not steal people's money, but you know what I mean. It's just
Well,
it's very anti-consumer.
Yep.
didn't you make enough off the off the product I bought from you to begin with?
Exactly. These phones are premium price. They're about as fragile as a Lego set if you push it over for like 2 seconds. Sorry, Jenga tower. They're about as fragile as a Jenga tower. And if I drop my iPhone, pardon my language, but you're fucked. Repair is going to cost way too much, and you cannot take it to a repair shop because
I will be real though with this one. I have dropped it. I haven't. This will be the day. I say this, I drop
are
it.
you gonna
tomorrow.
drop it like right after this episode, and it's just gonna
Knock
break?
on wood.
Quite literally. But
I've had no issues, but I keep it in a case. I have the screen protector on it, all of that stuff. So
Thankfully, I haven't had any issues either, but that's their thing though. They're trying to lock you into purchasing Apple Care and staying within that ecosystem. They really want you to just be Apple, Apple, everything Apple. Go right through Apple. Which is, it's unfortunate. It really it's a detriment to the consumer in the end. It really is. This is not good for the consumer. It removes your consumer freedom, But you'll have that.
you will have that.
sure will.
Now,
You know what?
go ahead.
Speaking of, not being good for the consumer, and Samsung, matter of fact, Samsung, they may do quality control very well for their TVs, their phones. They may make a pretty good product. I will give Samsung that. But what Samsung doesn't do well at all is customer service and hiring people to come and fix your things. We will talk about that. Um, I think I actually showed this to you guys before we actually got on podcast. Was
Yep.
it 2, 3 days ago? And for anybody watching, maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't. But I was browsing YouTube the other day while I was on my break at work, and I see this pretty interesting title. Samsung was it? It was like a Samsung repair guy, whatever, something of the sort. Knives a customer's TV purposefully. That way he can weasel out of a repair. If you know what I'm talking about, that's the exact title. And basically what happened was it was like this younger guy, looks like he's in his 20s, like early late 20s. He gets called out for a repair. And it's this guy trying to repair his TV because there's a dead pixel on it, which I'm sure we've all dealt with a handful of times, whether it be on a phone, whether it be a TV, anything, at least once or twice. And this repair guy makes sure to he looks around this guy's house, like the room that he's in with the TV,
Well,
for if there's any cameras.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Jaboon, but you did like kind of gloss over something. So the repair guy came up with an excuse to make the customer leave the room, and the excuse was to see if
Flipping
flipping
the
the breaker
breaker.
off and
Yeah,
back on would repair the dead pixel, which is ludicrous. But
Oh,
continue.
and
that's
yeah. Sorry,
So
I
while
was
the
gonna mention
customer's out
that.
of the room.
Yeah, which is already just crazy. And I'll give my opinion on the guy leaving the room, which I'm not gonna say it just yet. I don't have any hate against the guy. I mean, nothing wrong with that. You know, you're just trying to get your TV fixed. But he comes with the excuse that, oh, go and flip the breaker downstairs. That way, maybe we can see if it'll fix the TV, if it fixes those dead pixels. This little scumbag waits for him to go downstairs. Guy hasn't even flipped the breaker yet. The TV's on a white screen. He pulls a box cutter out from his pocket after looking around the room, making sure there's no cameras in any corners of the room or anywhere. Guy doesn't notice any cameras. So he grabs a box cutter, goes up to the TV, puts a little slit in the bottom right of the corner, the bottom right corner of the TV, then has the guy flip the breaker. And then the guy comes back up afterwards, and he's like, the tech guy or the technical support guy is like, "Oh, what's that over there? Was that there before?" Trying to
Yeah,
make it
he's
look
all
like,
feeling it and everything, and he's all like, "Oh, is that a scratch?" And now, mind you, the reason why we know this is because there was, in fact, a camera in the room, but it was sat down low, and I don't know if it was covered by something or
it
if
looked like
you
it was
just
covered.
missed
Yeah,
it.
it looked like it was covered or something.
I will say that guy did a great job documenting what happened. I'm glad that he put his phone, I believe it was his phone, behind like some pillows or under some pillows to where the guy wouldn't see it. Because you never know when this kind of thing could happen. So after that, I believe it got uploaded to Reddit and all sorts like that, where it started to blow up. And the whole thing about it, the problem with it is, since he cut that slit on that TV because he wanted to go home, he wanted to go home a little earlier than, you know, when he was
Well,
supposed to leave.
That
so the
part would have been
part
an hour to come
the
to be
part
delivered.
yeah, so the part that dude needed wasn't on his truck. It would have taken an hour to an hour and a half to get that part to him, and it was like 4:30 or something. Dude was supposed to be leaving. Let's say it was 4:30. Dude was supposed to be going home at 5. He didn't want to wait around. He didn't want to put the extra hours in, so he cuts the slit into the TV to void the warranty and be able to go home early.
Yeah, it's just it's disgusting, especially like afterward, because like I was saying, it got uploaded to Reddit, like the Samsung Reddit or just Reddit in general, and it blew up. It had at least 16,000, 20,000 upvotes. And then I think a little while after, Samsung has actually been taking down any video of this that you can find like on Reddit or anything like that.
Yeah,
Thankfully, they haven't taken down any YouTube videos or let alone the guy's original
they
YouTube
can't.
video on it.
They can't
I
take
mean,
him
yeah, they
down.
can't. But it's just that's disgusting. I want to know what you guys think about that. Like, is this
Well,
going to become like a normal?
so it's disgusting. It's disgusting as fuck. Number 1, on the part of the guy that cut the customer's TV. Number 2, on Samsung's end as well. Instead of coming out, releasing a statement, apologizing, um, firing or doing whatever to the involved party, and then, reaching out to this customer and being all like, "Look, what can we do to make this right? Um, to keep you as a valued customer." Okay. Instead of doing any of that, no, we're just gonna remove the Reddit
They
the
just went
Reddit
full damage
posts.
control, right?
Right.
Right.
And the best way to do damage control is to do you fire an employee, release a statement, a generalized apology statement to all Samsung customers. Okay. And then you reach out to the Samsung customer in question that this happened to. And not only do you repair his stuff, but you give him compensation on top of that because that is such a mind blowing hardship
I mean, it's straight
that
up illegal.
that has
It's
happened.
Oh no,
fraud.
absolutely.
They are
Like
Well,
this,
absolutely ripping
it's
that guy off.
fraud, it's
Damage to
damage to personal
property. Yeah.
property,
it's
it's all
it's
kinds
just a
of stuff,
crime in general.
and you have a lot of people, and this guy seemed like an older guy. I'm not gonna speak to was like what was going on in his head to think that uh, a breaker being flipped off and back on would fix that because I would have argued
Well,
that tech. But at the same time, with him setting up the camera the way he did, whether it's a phone or a camera, and if he did cover it, I have a feeling that he already knew something was fishy about something.
Yeah,
well, the guy did
So,
say in the beginning that the dude already had an attitude from the get-go.
oh,
So
yeah,
okay,
because he wanted to go home. He didn't want to do his job, so
exactly.
he just figured
So
he'd mess up warranty and just go home, call it a day. Customer had damage. That's it. Which
yeah,
it's really bad that Samsung's trying to do quote unquote damage control like this. Because now he
absolutely.
has this guy's face on camera. He has a copy of it. This is the easiest lawsuit for this guy.
Easiest in the
100%.
world, absolutely. And this is depending on how expensive that TV is, I mean, this was borderline criminal, really, to be honest with you.
It looked like a really good TV. Like
It did. It was the
Neo
QLED.
yeah, it was the Neo QLED, yeah.
So it's not
Which is-
exactly a
That's
cheap
a
TV.
good one.
Which is a fairly expensive TV. I think it's anywhere between, depending on what size you get, it's anywhere between like 900 to 1500.
Yeah,
And the size that this dude had was,
it was a big TV.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
at least a 65, if not a 70-inch TV.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
he probably paid 15, and if he bought it brand new whenever it first dropped, he probably paid it close to $2,000, especially if he got it from Best Buy. We all know the Best Buy prices. So,
And if you think about it, like this person, right? He goes. Let's just hypothesize here. This person goes to work. He saved up all this money to buy this TV to treat themselves, right? And you have someone here that's a paid official. This is not a third party repair company. This is directly from Samsung. This is directly an authorized repair
yeah.
entity by Samsung. Comes in and does this. It's disgusting. This should absolutely be blown up. And the fact that Samsung's first instinct is damage control and let's try to sweep this under the rug is also disgusting as the company. This is not how you keep your image, Samsung. This absolutely is not.
Well, it makes you question, right? Is this how they're trained? Because correct me if I'm wrong, I do remember a little fiasco with Samsung and their Z Fold 3s. Let's talk about that. So
Let's just get into the
you
whole
had the
Samsung
Z
rabbit
Fold
hole right
3,
now.
Yeah.
and it worked flawlessly for months, and then all of a sudden it couldn't connect to a network.
I had this issue
No
personally.
drops, right? And this is why I bring it up. No drops, no scratches. Phone is in perfect condition. Never left an official Samsung case. From day one until it started messing up. And you went through the massive headache of calling tech support. Tech support was on the phone with you for a little bit. They wanted to send you to an authorized dealer. You went to the authorized dealer. The authorized dealer said that they couldn't do anything, that you would have to contact customer support. You contact customer support again. They're telling you to go back
It's a
to this
loop.
dealer.
Yeah.
And it was just this loop of bullcrap.
Actually, eventually,
You only had the phone for 4 months.
oh yeah, it was brand new. Eventually, it got to the point where they were just like, yeah, you have to disable some bands on your cellular, and if your phone restarts, then you just got to redo it. It's like, hold on. So I'm paying for your most expensive mobile device,
$2,000,
$2,000 for your Fold, and you're telling me I have to do all this BS just to use
Why
my
does
phone?
it come out of the factory like that? That's the
And
problem.
he was having to do it. He was having to do it multiple times a day, and it didn't come out of the factory like that because it worked flawlessly for 4 months.
I
And
had
then all
no
of a sudden,
issues until
one
this
day-
update. Yeah, some update got pushed, and it just ruined everything. And by the way, for someone that is a college student and they have to commute an hour, so I use that phone to stay in contact with my parents. It's essential. It's not a luxury. It is an essential device for me because if something happens, that's the only way of contact I have with them. And if I'm on the road, there's no Wi-Fi. I can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna go to Wi-Fi and I'll Google Voice or Discord or whatever it is. No, if I don't have cellular service, I do not have contact with anyone. So this was a huge deal for me, and this pushed me to go to iPhone because I'm not even gonna try.
Well, it pushed us both to go to iPhone.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna
because-
try to go down that path because nowadays I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give Samsung another shot. But back even today, if you need something reliable and it's crucial for you, I still recommend iPhones because The reliability is there. That's what they're known for. I've never had a hiccup since my iPhone 5 where my cellular just completely disabled itself, and I had no way to fix it.
So we both had the Z Fold 3. He had these issues, and I loved my Z Fold.
One
Don't
more
get me wrong.
detail. You bought yours from your carrier, right?
Yes.
I bought mine
direct-
directly from Samsung, fully paid. So I bought it directly from the company.
I bought mine from my carrier, which is AT&T. I had no issues with it, but because of what he went through, I said, you know what? He went and got an iPhone. I thought about it for what, a couple more months after you got your iPhone?
Not even. I think it was a month, maybe month and a half.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want, if that happens to me, I don't want to do that because, you know, I had businesses, stuff like that. I can't afford to
Just
to
have your phone not
have a
work.
signal on
Yeah,
my phone.
yeah.
What do you mean? So like I was all like, yeah, I don't want this anymore. And I wound up, because the phone wasn't paid off, you know, I got it through my carrier. I was making monthly payments on it. So I threw it in a drawer, purchased this one flat out, and you know, been using that. And then I wound up selling the other phone once I paid it off. But yeah, no.
When your phone can't do the rudimentary function of being a phone, there's an issue.
What's the point in it?
There's an issue. There should be quality control. You have a $2,000 product. You should absolutely have tested this before you put it on the market. This is inexplicable. If Apple did this, people would be head over. There would be a riot. So just because you're Samsung, exactly, just because you're Samsung and this is your most expensive phone and not a lot of people bought it, or maybe a lot of people bought it, I don't know the sales numbers, doesn't give you any excuse to weasel your way out of this. So yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way. That was not a good experience.
So that was your experience, and now we're seeing that, you know, Samsung repairmen are doing this to customers' TVs.
And to add on to that, sorry to cut you off, but apparently this is not like it's not an isolated incident. Just like the issue with the phones and everything, this isn't an isolated incident from what, especially like after watching Louis Rossman and reading on Reddit.
Yeah,
apparently this has happened a lot. Yeah,
and it may not, it may be the same guy, maybe not. That's it's scary to think that just, you know, a few people not wanting to, you know, stay for that little extra hour and a half just to make sure that customer has an experience that'll keep them coming back. Like that's your job. That's what you're paid to do. Because you want to go home at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, you're willing to damage somebody else's property and pretty much commit a felony or a crime. Bro,
Yeah.
you could have stayed an hour later. Now you're gonna face a lawsuit, and now your company's gonna look bad. It's just bad, man.
It's a shame. And like, look, if you didn't want the job, why did you take it?
Exactly. That's
Give it to someone else.
Exactly.
Give it to someone else. No one's forcing you to do that.
I was about to go on a rant with the whole job thing, but I know that's not any of our topics on here or the topic.
But you'll have that.
But you'll have that.
Yeah, you will have that. But I have another segue that's kind of interesting here. So speaking of jobs and people not, if they don't want to take it, they shouldn't. There is an epidemic in the U.S. Tipping is starting to get out of control. The tipping culture in the U.S. is starting to get crazy. So what do we think about tipping? The whole entire tipping culture currently, not how it was, just currently how it. So the reason I'm saying this is, let me give some context. Okay, you remember back in the day, let's say 2004, 2008, all in that era, you used to go to a diner, and based on your waitress's, you know, ability to get your food nice and hot, communicate with you well, remember to fill your drink, you know, do her job pretty well, that was a gauge of, okay, I'm gonna add a little tip, or maybe not, if they're not doing their job right. Nowadays, it's gone to the point where if you go to the front counter at a bakery, there's a tip option. And it's like, okay, so you literally just, I told you what I wanted, you put it in a bag and give it to me. So I have to tip you because you did your job?
Well, I think that's optional. I think that's optional. I don't think that tip jar should be there because it does make people.
Oh, I'm not talking about the tip jar. I'm talking about the electric, like a card processing unit that has a tip screen.
Yeah, I don't think that should be there either. I honestly think that that tip screen wouldn't be there if people carried cash more often. This whole let's put everything in the bank and keep everything on a card
Well,
thing
to steer us
is
back on the topic, I'm more talking about the tipping culture. So this whole thing where
yeah, I
everyone
know.
wants a tip, everyone wants a tip.
Yeah, I know. I was wrapping it back in there. So, anyways, the whole not carrying cash thing is kind of weird, but to each their own. I don't think that a tip jar should be there. I don't think that a tip option should be there unless you're at a restaurant with a waitress. All right. To this day, and don't get me wrong, I do feel for waitresses because in the United States, waitresses are not even paid the minimum wage, which in a lot of states is like 7.25. They're normally paid like $4 or $5 an hour. You can't live off of that, and I get that they live off of tips. But if my drink goes empty, now that's not to say if you are super busy and I see that you are super busy and my drink gets empty, I'm still gonna tip you. But if my drink goes empty and you're not busy and it consistently stays that way, already you're not getting a tip. Number 2, if I have to, even if you're busy, if I have to remind you more than a second time for something and you're showing me that you're actively ignoring me and my table because you have a larger table next to me or behind me or in front of me, whatever. Yeah, no. What do you mean a tip? Go over there and give them stellar service because you think they're going to tip you more than I am. Guaranteed they won't, because whenever I was waiting tables and stuff, I could bend over and break my back for an 8 or 12 top. 9 times out of 10, I'd get the same exact tip from a 2 top next to them. So take from that what you will, but no. If I go to an ice cream shop, I might give you an extra dollar. All right. If I go to Subway, that tip jar shouldn't be there. It's been there for a very long time and I know it has, but it shouldn't be there. You're paid at the very least minimum wage, if not a little more. No, I'm not tipping you. What do you mean tip you for making my sandwich?
That's the thing is like I feel a lot of people have gotten way too comfortable. At least people, working and things like that. They're way too comfortable with the tip being just like these standards supposed to be a part of every transaction. You'll notice like on pizza delivery, which I mean that's one thing.
Well, pizza
Just even
delivery, yeah,
it
That's
makes
totally.
always been a
sense.
thing,
Right,
right?
that's all that makes sense because like they're using their gas, they're coming all the way out, making that little bit of money. So that little extra helps them in their gas. That is understandable. But the thing is, I'll go into restaurants all the time, and these people look like they're so happy about their job and that they're having a good time or that they're ready to give you good service. I'm sitting here and half my plate's cold or my drink feels weird. No, not feels weird, but it tastes weird, which may not be the fault of the waitress or the
And
waiter.
say
But
something. Say something about that and watch the waitress's attitude.
right, it changes instantly. And the whole thing is that these people are way too comfortable. They think that every transaction they have at a restaurant, like I've even seen some where you have to give a tip, or they try to force you to give like a bare minimum of a tip. DoorDash, but um, my whole thing is this shouldn't be like forced upon anybody.
Well,
Tipping should be towards good service.
Yeah.
That is one gig job that I will say you should always tip, and if you think that you're tipping too much, you should tip an extra dollar or 2, um, in my opinion, because a lot of these fees that they're putting on you, actually all the fees, none of them goes to your driver, alright?
That's the
I
messed up part.
I have done DoorDash before, and I have literally driven miles for a $1 tip. That is all I earned on that dash. And, you know, I'm getting a dollar tip from somebody wearing a Canadian Goose jacket,
That's a pretty hefty jacket, my guy.
an 800 to $1,000 jacket. You're tipping me a dollar? No, that's not right. And maybe I shouldn't look at people and be all like, oh, well, they can afford that jacket. They can afford to tip me. Yes, if you are going to use a service that you know somebody is doing, not because they just want to do it, they're
They need
trying to
the
make a
money.
living, and you're going to only give them $1, and you know that the restaurant that you're ordering from is a minimum 4-mile drive from you, especially if you're ordering it in the middle of rush hour and you're only tipping $1, you
Yeah.
bumped your fucking head.
I agree. That's
Yep.
the thing is like with if it's storming or if it's like bad weather out, if it's a far drive, I'll leave a bigger tip because I feel like if they are going through that extra mile just to get me something that I could go drive up there in like 10 minutes to get, I feel like they deserve that because they're going through shit already.
But if I'm going to Starbucks and I'm already buying overpriced coffee,
You
don't
better pay
think
me
just
good.
because you're a barista, I'm tipping you.
I think
Like,
you
bruh,
yeah. I think you
you're
kind of like highlighted a really big issue here in the sense that if we look at Europe, for example, right? We should just be paying these people a livable wage instead of having them depend on tipping. And that would solve this problem entirely. I'm more for remove tipping and just pay them a livable wage.
oh, I'm down for it too.
We
Absolutely.
wouldn't
But at the
have
same
this
time,
epidemic
at the
where
same time in Europe, whenever it does come to things like DoorDash, Uber Eats, any kind of delivery service, and that's back to the whole pizza thing, Jabun. Just so you know, most pizza places, whenever your delivery driver leaves the store, they have to clock out. And at that point, they are on just tips.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's just it's I
So,
think
and that's the way it is in UK too, as far as delivery drivers for any kind of food, they are on a tip-based system.
right.
yeah,
And I think excluding that obviously, as a whole, I think if we just pay these people more than $4-5 an hour, which is no one can live on that. I mean, literally no one. Um, this would solve a lot of this issue. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, you guys go ahead and talk for a sec. I just gotta have a phone call real quick.
you're good. I don't know. I think for like if we're talking just like standard jobs, like not like a waitress job or anything like that, right? Like we're talking just being a barista or anything like that at work, just things that you don't have that minimum wage, but they still make you kind of tip or give you an offer to tip. These people think, and I think it's just it kind of ties into work culture too, that people want to get paid a lot for doing a job anybody can do. I think that's like a big problem.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
excluding waitress, like being like a waiter, that's a pretty stressful job, man. I know it sounds like I'm playing favorites, but you're sitting there working for 8 hours. You were bouncing back and forth between tables or trash customers or just a trash environment in general, trying to make that ends meet. That I can kind of exclude. Same with, delivering pizzas. You're trying to make that extra money. But what if it's just something as simple as being a barista in Starbucks? Don't
and
think
that
you're entitled to my $5 just because, you did a job that I could go behind your counter and do given like 1 day's worth of training.
and
That
that's
sounds
the
entitled
problem.
as that sounds entitled as fuck for me. And I'm sorry if it does, but I've worked at Starbucks. I've worked at, food places. We're there to get paid and go home. Like, if you give somebody stellar service, sure, they may tip you, but don't base your job or you working there based off of purely your tips if it's not like a job that your tipping is basically your wage.
Don't come in with the expectation that people have to tip. If they tip,
Exactly.
thank you. That's appreciated. But this whole thing where it's expected now. If you don't tip, it's like people look down on you, and it's a societal like almost like you're a plebeian or something. This should not be a thing. This really shouldn't. When people are like when you grab a piece of baked bread, put it in a bag. I need to give you $5. Like, okay, good job. You did that. I can
Just because
literally
you put a little extra sauce on my Big Mac doesn't mean I'm gonna pay you an extra $3.
right.
Especially when you're charging me $1 for something extra.
And in today's economy, especially, like this is absurd. Things are more expensive than ever, right? People are not making buku's amount of money, so I just feel like it's not only the worst time for this whole trend to kind of be where it's at, but it's just a bad trend in general.
Yeah,
But you know,
I
you'll
mean,
have that.
we'll have that, and it
Sure
kind of just
will.
finish it just a little more. Sorry, I'm kind of like ranting a little more about it,
Hmm.
but I think it's just a matter of, you know, people need to stop having such high expectations with that kind of thing. Unless,
Yeah.
like, again, I've said it. If you're working that specific job where that's your living, tipping should be a encouragement. If it's like just a normal job where you keep giving that person stellar service, they're gonna keep coming back. That's how I've always looked at tips when I worked. Is you bust your ass and you do a good job, people want to keep coming back for you and for that store because you were carrying that store pretty much.
Yep.
Helping out, make sure everything's running smooth. That's your job. And if you do that, you get paid good for it. Um, and I think with some commission-based jobs, like, just being like a typical waiter at like, a typical 9 to 5 restaurant or even just like Best Buy, anything like that. I think if you just raise that price, like, that paycheck a little bit more per hour, just a little bit, not a lot, but just enough.
A livable wage. Yeah.
Exactly, livable wage and make the tipping like basically not that person's whole paycheck. Then I think that it would be better. But because of how job culture is along with tipping culture right now, they both kind of they gnaw at each other in a bad way.
Yeah. That's a
But yeah,
very,
you
very
will
good
you
point.
will have that. You will.
Yeah, you will.
All right, what do we got next, my man?
All right. Let's do. Okay, so let's jump into whole AI sort of aspect of this because we have a nice bit of AI things I'd like to talk about. Let's
Yeah,
let's.
let's start with the how about the AI scam
Yeah. All right.
that just
That's
I
happened?
haven't heard about this.
me
Whoever's talking about this,
neither.
pop off. I want to hear about
So
this.
so apparently it's what happened is there was a Zoom call with a financial worker over in China, and they the people who initiated the Zoom call did a deep fake of the CEO, the CFO, and a couple of others. There was quite a few people in this meeting, and what I mean by deep fake is the Zoom call was on camera. They used AI to generate the faces, bodies, everything like that, the voices, and they actually scammed this worker into sending money to 15 different accounts and accrued 25 million
Wow.
in the equivalent to 25 million USD.
Wow.
So where did this take
Jeez.
place? I might have like listened, like I might have like
This
visited,
China.
but
was
where did it take
this was in
place?
China. This
This
was in
okay.
China. I couldn't I can't remember the company's name, but it was
Well, we
like
won't put them
front
on
page
blast, but
news
like,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, deep AI is getting out of hand. I've heard a lot of stories of robocalls calling, getting people's little voice clips and stuff, and then them using AI to
Emulate the
mimic your
voice.
voice,
Yeah.
emulate your voice, and then they'll use what's called a phone spoofer, uh, a phone number spoofer to call like relatives of yours using your telephone number, your voice, and saying that you're in some kind of trouble, like you're in jail, you've gotten into a car accident or something like that,
I've
to try
heard
to
about
scam
that.
them out of money, or
Yeah.
like your car broke down, or you have a flat tire and need a couple $100 or something like that,
Hmm.
and you need money from them. So like Zelle me this much, or Venmo, or Cash App, or PayPal, or something like that. That is getting very, very disgusting. And like at this point, you could do AI deep fakes. It's very reminiscent of I can't even remember the name of this movie, but it's reminiscent of a movie that I watched where there was a person murdered, and like they used AI to put an innocent person's face on on over the face of the actual person that did it, and got the police to start chasing an innocent person for murder. Now granted, I'm not saying that, oh, it's going to go that far, but already it's showing that the tech is out there to possibly be able to do this.
It's just crazy. I know it's kind of going a little off topic, me bringing this up, but I'm a Yakuza fan. This has not. This sounds like it has nothing to do with the topic, but there's a game called Lost Judgment,
Hmm.
and I remember seeing something exactly like that where they had a murder, and the culprit, they put his face over the guy who did the actual killing. It was like, not the guy who actually did the murder, but the person
An
they wanted to
innocent
frame for it.
Yeah,
person.
the
Yeah.
frame person,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Just to like make sure that other person can get caught. And it just makes you wonder, like, is this gonna become the normal? Like, is it it's scary how accurate these things are, and then they're being used for like the wrong things. Like, don't get me wrong. It's funny when it's like, say, some political like figure
Yeah.
singing, Baka Mitai on YouTube,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or the president's talking trash to each other in Call of Duty on zombies.
Right,
That's all
right.
fine and dandy.
But
But the
this is
fact that we're getting to this
malicious. This
point
is
where
very
you can,
malicious.
yeah, you can grab one person's voice clip and even like a picture of their face and make it look awfully legitimate and still like
Legitimate enough to fool a financial
advisory.
person to move money from this company into 15 different accounts to the tune of 25 million USD. That's scary.
It
I'd
is.
like to give some input here as someone that's a security professional, right? A network security. I have a network security degree, so basically these phishing attacks have existed for a little bit, but now it's gotten very sophisticated with AI and the, as Twiz said, the deep voice or deep fake or whatever it's called.
Deep fake.
Deep fake. But a lot of main companies here in the US use proprietary or at least locked behind certain authentications for their communications. So I'll give you an example like GM, General Motors. They have their whole entire own client, and there's a lot of different authentications that have to happen to even get access to or not Zoom, but communicate like that. I think the best way to combat this is the way that phishing has been combated over decades, is you have to train and educate your employees. They have to understand that if you're going to send 25 million worth of, is it a Chinese yen or something? I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
something like that.
Something,
I'm not entirely sure. But
basically 25 million USD in that currency. If you're trying to send that much money, there needs to be certain authentications and safeguards,
Yeah.
where you
Like,
don't just do it, even if your CEO's telling you this is very abnormal to begin with. So they're definitely, in my opinion, that was a failure on educating the employees. And these things happen. The Rockstar leaks were all phishing leaks. They're hacked. They weren't hacked like over the network or anything. One of the employees downloaded an image off of an email that contained a rootkit, and that's how the hacker got access to the whole entire that developer's computer and files and stuff. So all these are very preventable if you just educate your employees. And in China, I don't know how things are. I honestly don't, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm an expert. But I feel
that
like,
probably ruined that man's entire life.
which one?
The one that got bamboozled into sending all this money, because
It
the
very
way
well
they
could be.
are,
That's an expensive mistake. I'll just say that.
well,
well,
not
not
only
just that. This
that,
is China. Like,
but
Yeah.
this is
they're
China,
way
and
more
the way
strict
they
about stuff
are,
there.
is like whatever job you get,
Yeah.
you basically spend your entire life in.
Gotcha.
And if you're not a good employee, if you get fired for any reason, and
That's
you
6
have
feet
that on your
forever, man.
record, you don't you don't get hired almost anywhere else. So this probably destroyed this man's life.
And that is extremely unfortunate. But I'm not trying to like go into that side of it. I'm simply saying that I think a very expensive lesson for this company, and hopefully other companies that may get wind of this, is educate your employees. It's very simple to do a 30-minute little mini course on the proper procedures and authentication forms versus having a very expensive mistake like this happen. This whoever this was could have very well phoned a VP, a vice president, or the.
Well, the VP was supposed to be on that call.
Okay. Well, either way,
and was deep faked to be on that Zoom call. So he's every single higher up, right?
Mhm.
Was
It was in this
deep
call.
faked,
Yeah.
and supposedly in this call. And he could see them with his eyes. He could hear them with his
Yeah, it
ears.
looked just
You
like them
know,
pretty much, right? Well,
it looked
even
like their
then,
offices even.
wow. Okay, interesting. Um,
So,
that tells me there's probably either there's pictures of their offices or maybe that this person had access to certain things beforehand and kind of built this whole big scheme.
and that's a possibility. I'm sure they're investigating it. Whether or not we'll hear about
We'll
it or
probably
not,
not
I
hear
don't
about
know.
it just because I mean, if you're that company, you probably don't want that information out. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, this is really unfortunate. Like, I absolutely agree with you in the sense that this person probably will be fired. If they're not, I'll be surprised. But it's a very expensive lesson, and it's unfortunate that it happened. But you really gotta train your employees on this stuff. This goes all the way back to the days of when do you remember you used to get like chain emails of like, hey, I could you send me some money on PayPal, or your account got suspended and you need to pay X amount.
Yeah.
It's been a thing
Or even
for
things like crypto locker. Like,
well, CryptoLocker is a little different because that actually locks your computer. So
yeah,
this
but you can still disguise that. You know what I mean?
oh, absolutely
Mhm.
right,
Like,
right.
it just makes you wonder because this is happening in China, and a lot of hackers that do this stuff, like in the U.S. or even outside of the U.S., China, Russia, anywhere,
Hmm.
they're all out of state. They live there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, what does this say about us? Because China's very strict. We all know this. China's super strict. They try their best to make sure this stuff doesn't happen.
They're
Yep.
super strict with their internet even, so
Hmm.
Exactly. Like, you say one thing on like a League of Legends game, they'll take away your entire internet access. Not to pin it on League of Legends, but it's just an example.
right.
Like, you can say one thing online, you're done. It's just it makes you wonder. Like, is this gonna happen here soon too? Like, or do we have that quality control here, that security?
We'll just have to
But
wait and see.
Well,
But you'll have
things like
that.
you will have that, but things
we'll
like
have
that
that.
have occurred in the U.S. before, and it's honestly just at the end of the day, does the company want to put in the effort and the time to train their employees properly, or roll the dice and see?
But speaking of training employees properly or educating people, uh, you know, parents need to start educating their children on games and really not buying overtly violent ones. Um, I'll let Jaboon take this one over because I believe this was one of his ideas. So,
Yeah, man. Of course, you guys both know I'm probably way younger than both of you. I mean, I'm in like my early 20s, and even then, my parents were very strict with the games that I played. Even though I had internet access and all that, they made sure that I was listening and being careful with what I played, with what I purchased, all that kind of stuff. I feel like a lot of parents these days are not monitoring what their kids are doing online, and then trying to go after departments like ESRB, things like that, when they're approving their kids to get these games, going to these platforms like you know very violent games like Grand Theft Auto 5. How many children have we seen play a game like Grand Theft Auto 5 online and then go play story? Like, even in the
a
online
lot.
mode, there's still some pretty messed up stuff in there, man. Like, it's a game about stealing cars and doing drugs. That's like really all I gotta say. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a gangster game. That's the best. It's a gangster game, and
Hmm.
parents are letting their kids buy it. And sure, you could say things like, "Oh, you may Call of Duty," you know, I wouldn't let my kid buy that. I would still think it's a way better alternative than something like Grand Theft Auto any day of the week. It's still sticky though with how they've been lately because they have been
it's a
kind of
little
going
bit.
back to OG,
I will say it's a little bit better of an alternative
but not that much.
if well. So you are right. Call of Duty is a better alternative because you can turn off the gore. All right, that's number one. You can turn that off, and I would deactivate voice chat because voice chat is woof.
Well,
It's
I think
pretty
with the Call of
toxic.
Duty, it's just one main thing, it's violence. Whereas GTA includes drugs, sex, violence,
Yeah,
a lot of adult mature content.
yeah.
Not just violence. So I think GTA is more uh, definitely more opening your eyes to a
Well,
lot more of adult content, whereas Call of Duty's, it's just one avenue of violence, and that's the whole premise
well,
of the game is a shooter.
and just so our viewers know, we love GTA. We're not
We love
saying
Call of
that
Duty
it should
too.
not. Yeah, and Call of Duty. We're not saying that these games shouldn't be on the market. is what we're saying is they are appropriately rated. All right. So
Exactly.
they are rated mature 16 plus. You probably should not let your 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old play these games. If you see a mature rating, there's a reason for that. So don't buy the game. Let little Timmy go to the living room, start playing it, and then freak your or lose your shit because this is what the game is. Just because it's called a game does not mean that it's for children. Adults like to play games too.
And I'd like to play devil's advocate a little bit here. There's never been a time, I think, where someone plays GTA and their next jump, their next hurdle is, oh, I'm gonna go do this in real life. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, but the problem with it is, right, is that that's not the issue. The issue is that parents like to pin that on the game.
Oh,
That's
that's gonna be an issue. Yeah,
game. It's always gonna be an issue. But we're seeing it more and more. It's been becoming more and more of an issue since when it first happened.
It's an age-old story though, right? So
it's never the parents' fault.
The age-old story has always been and for always will be, right? It's something else's fault. It was the music's fault in the Reagan days.
Yep.
That's where we got parental advisory on our stuff because of the cussing, right? So,
right.
This is where we started seeing edited stuff. All right. So it was the music's fault. And it's the movies and television's fault. Now it's video games' fault. It's everybody's fault, right?
Now it's everyone's fault. Yeah, it's everyone's fault, but the parents.
Exactly.
And the same thing can be extended to, and to be honest, I wish I would have added this as a topic, but I just kind of found out about it today. In the state of, I believe it's in the state of Michigan, there's a bill proposed, right?
It got passed. She got charged with the school shooting.
Okay, so so this got passed. A parent got charged with a school shooting.
With involuntary manslaughter, I think.
Involuntary manslaughter because her kid took a gun to school, shot it up. I wholeheartedly believe that that's exactly what should have happened.
Not to get too political, but I completely agree with Twiz here. I do think that as a parent, you should have the bare minimum responsibility of knowing what your child is doing and what their train of thought is. And if there's no blame, this is why it keeps happening. There's no blame. The parents are always like, well, I don't know how that happened. My son or my daughter knew where my firearm was, but I never thought they would do X, Y, and Z. Well, if you start putting the blame now, or sorry, you don't start putting blame. The blame was there. If you start charging these parents, maybe it'll incentivize them to, hey, maybe I should put a lock or a safe where my firearms are.
As a responsible gun owner.
And and Twiz brought this up, right?
Go ahead, sorry.
You are required. It's not a suggestion. They literally tell you have to have your firearm in a safe or something lockable. There's specifics to this. I'm not getting into it because I think it's slightly different each state. But you have to have it locked away if you have children. You cannot have a firearm out in the open if you have someone below 12, 16? I don't know what age.
It's I believe it's 18 in a lot of states.
Well, I know for long firearms it's 16 and lower because they can
long rifles. For long rifles and stuff like that, it's 16 years old.
16.
16-year-old can own a long
there
rifle.
You go.
For hunting.
And just because we're not super aggressive and police aren't knocking on every door and checking houses, doesn't excuse you from being ignorant to that. And then your son shoots up a school and they're like, well, whoops, I don't know what just happened. That's not an excuse anymore. And I'm with Twiz 100%. I think this is a great move, and hopefully this forces people to be like, to take things seriously. It's inexcusable. This should not be happening. And by all means, go ahead, guys.
Not only should you be Jaboon, but not only should you be a responsible parent, you should be a responsible firearm owner.
Mm-hmm.
Most states require you to go and get a license or a permit to even purchase and carry this stuff. And in those classes, they teach you this. All right. So you coming home leaving a loaded firearm unlocked, unsecured is egregious. What's even more egregious is if you actually go and purchase a safe and you put your shit in it and then you give your kid the combo, which I know a lot of people have done. Oh, well, what if something happens if I'm out of the house? Well, if something happens while you're out of the house and your child is old enough to be at home alone, number one, you should already have went over a game plan with your child, what they should do, how they should escape the house, call 911, stuff like this. Or better yet, stop leaving your kid at home. If you're that worried about it and your neighborhood's that unsafe, don't leave your kid at home alone.
And having them at home and having a game plan where they can have access to the firearm in an extreme emergency is fine if, only if, you as a parent understand how your child is. Are they mentally unstable? Like these people that all of a sudden their child goes and shoots up a school, you never hear about, oh,
Or
well, there was
most of the
no
time there's
signs.
warning signs.
Exactly. And it always comes out in the news is, well, there was this post and this post a year ago, and then his friends started seeing his mood change in X, Y, and Z, and there's signs. And if you're oblivious to this, and honestly, I think what it is the parents always think there's nothing wrong with their children. There's nothing wrong with my child. It's never them. It's everyone else. It's the teachers. It's the counselors. It's whatever it is.
It's the other kids at school.
Other kids at
It's
school.
it's the dog down the street.
Whatever it may be, and that mentality is dangerous in this day and age because you you saw it. I mean, these people think that I'm gonna go into school and do what I do the thing. We're not gonna say the keyword because YouTube's gonna be very angry. But yeah, it's scary. It really is frightening. Parents really need to be aware of their children in this day and age of social media. You as a parent really have to be on top of this. Jaboon, please go ahead. I know you were going to say something.
Well, on the topic of like gun safety, and after I finish my take on this, I was raised with gun safety. I'm gonna go back onto the video games and give my like I guess final verdict. With gun safety, I think if you teach your kid, I mean, like we're talking like a normal kid, right? Like nothing's going on, just a good scenario. That's your kid's not want to go and grab that gun. You teach your kid gun safety and show him why a firearm is not a toy, and you take him to the range and make sure that he's careful with the firearm. He knows, how to respect the gun. A lot of these cases wouldn't happen. A lot of people see their dad shooting a gun or things like that, or their friends doing it, and they think it's a toy. I think that's another big thing is they think that they're way too impressionable,
Yeah.
and their parents don't teach them about that.
Yep. That's very
But
fair.
on the topic of video games, and this is gonna tie back in with the whole parents thing. Parents, you gotta watch what the fuck your kids are doing. I'm sorry for my language. Again, you gotta watch what your kids are doing. We cannot be living in 2024 and we are still giving our kid a tablet or buying them a console and
That's what I
leaving
was about
them
to say.
for 8 hours a day.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The consoles and tablets and cell phones cannot raise your kids for you. They can't even babysit them. So
No.
either be more responsible or I don't know.
Think twice about
Figure
having another kid if you can't.
figure it out.
If you can't raise a kid, then don't have another one.
Stop
Right.
trying to blame, your issues with your kid, that your parenting issues on a video game or media. My family didn't let me have access to anything like Facebook or anything like that, or even my own phone until I was almost 18 years old.
And that's another thing. That is another thing. You never hear on the news after one of those things happens, and we all know what I'm talking about. Oh, he was playing a lot of Call of Duty. Oh, he was playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, he was watching
No,
my streamer. Like, no,
no, bruh.
that's not how that works,
You
yo.
always hear mood swings, attitudes, you know, being mean to
Outbursts.
animals,
Yeah.
outbursts, other kids bullying. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. If your kid's bullying another kid to that point, hmm, maybe it's not only the parents' fault that left the firearm out, but maybe it's the parents' fault that allowed their kid to bully as well.
I absolutely think there should be a lot more responsibility held on the parents. Um, I think that would cure a lot of this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's just you need to watch what your kids are doing. That's how we were raised back in the day. I know it's like a boomer saying that, but that's just how it is.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
social media and all that's way too accessible for these kids, number one. And then to finish it all off, you guys aren't paying attention to what your kids are doing when you do give them access. Just watch what they're doing, even if it's like 5, 10, 20 minutes a day. That'll make the biggest difference in your life.
Have a
You can see
conversation with
what
them. Talk to them.
treat them like they're your fucking kid.
Yeah.
That's what my family did. But you know what? You'll have
You'll
that.
have that.
You will have that. To steer us a little bit into AI again, because there's some interesting things. So there might be the end of a whole entire career because of AI. So you guys are seeing a lot of the whole deepfake stuff and all that, or whatever it's called. But what we're also not talking about is the fact that AI art is a thing. So a lot of artists are being essentially put out of a job. I say that loosely because as an artist, your job depends solely on people wanting to get your art. But a lot of that whole entire field now is threatened because AI imagery and art and all this AI stuff. First of all, it's not copyrighted because it's completely random each time, right? And it also kind of takes away from the whole personalization thing because you could just type in what you want and then boom.
But not really. I've played around with this quite a bit. The AI generated stuff, and it is cool. But at the same time, you really can't get exactly what you wanted out of it, especially like compared to sitting down with an artist and explaining to that artist what you want. Um, for example, I have tattoos on me that AI would have never been able to come up with exactly what I wanted.
No, yeah, I see
It
what you're
can
saying.
come kind of close, but still it does not beat sitting down with an artist and being all like, okay, for example, I want a uh I want a I can't remember what's his a plague
I
doctor
get what you're saying, and I think
holding a lantern
right,
coming out of smoke
right,
with a scythe
right.
and a raven, right?
hmm
At the top.
But I
I
think
can type that into AI and AI would come
well,
up
it would
with
try.
something.
It would try, but I think the thing you can think about is that this technology only gets better. So the more because it's using a language learning model, right? So the more people use it, the more knowledge it gets and the better it gets. So maybe right now you're right with these abstract kind of ideas, it struggles. But maybe in 5 years, you're just gonna talk to AI like it's a person, and it's gonna give you something that you really wanted. And I think, honestly, I think at this point, artists should be pretty concerned because your years are numbered. Once this AI is
don't know.
perfected, I think your years are definitely numbered.
I don't know about that though, because you also have to think about the mind of a collector, right? A collector's not going to give two flying fucks what a machine can produce. A lot
Well,
of the
with
times,
NFTs, we saw that might not be the case.
but NFTs have flopped just as hard
They did, but they were popular at one point.
at one point, but it wasn't long. But like collectors and stuff like that is what they care about is the originality that can come out of a human mind.
That's the thing is
Being able to actually see the brush strokes
AI can do
from this
that,
person.
and it is original because it's making it. Each one is different, right? So that's the thing with why this is kind of scary for artists. You can make 1,000 different renditions of a topic, and they're all different, and they will never copy it again.
Yes. But my whole point about this is like a lot of collectors prefer, like, for example, a painting for it to actually have been painted, not for it to be generated in the blink of an eye.
Oh, I get what you're saying, but recently, what artists have we seen recently that has the popularity of old pieces of art like that?
The
That are collectors.
materials used, stuff like that. I'm not sure. I haven't really been in the art world that much, but
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
sure. Not exactly. I'm not a collector.
Well, not many
All
people
right.
are, which is I think there's a large demographic. For example, like
There's okay.
Fiverr,
Some of the
Etsy.
richest people are collectors, and that's where artists, well known, make all their money is from the
But the
richest
vast
people.
majority of artists are not well known and making millions of dollars on their paintings.
And you're right in a way, but a lot of artists don't necessarily do it for a job. They do it as a hobby. They do it as a passion. And
Well,
and
if
that's
it's a
the
hobby or
thing.
passion, yeah, I agree. That it, they're not being exactly threatened in the sense of like their livelihood. But I was
Most
talking,
artists have a day job.
they have to because they don't make much money,
Don't
right?
don't get it twisted. Most artists have a day job and they're not depending on their art for their only sole income. So 99.9% of the time an artist is doing it because they're passionate about it. That's the thing. It's not like they're because who do you know? All right, let's put this out there. Who do you know that their sole job is art?
I don't know a single person.
Exactly. So
Oh, Jaboon, you
go
know
ahead.
someone? Go ahead. Oh, your
Your
mic's
mic
muted.
is muted.
All right. I think even with AI, no matter how good it gets, I still think normal art, like there's going to be a huge difference between AI and normal art. Like
Yep.
AI is still very good, right? AI is good right now. Don't get me wrong, but like you can go get like an anime rendition of like a piece you made and go put it into say an AI generator. It's always going to have that distinct style. I think there's always going to be some sort of like inconsistency,
Well, there's that distinct style. The strokes are way too precise.
and it's just it makes like I get like people why people are concerned. We saw it with Power World, like all the artists are flipping about Power World. I know we talked about that a little bit last episode, but it still is a big deal because a lot of people use Power World of AI generation. And given the Power World's track record with their other games, the company, I get it. But
I think they
I think
did
people are
use AI
stressing.
generation on some stuff.
Yeah, but I think these people are stressing way too much. And I get it. It's your job, it's your livelihood, or it's something that you take passion in. But you're not going anywhere. People are gonna come back to you for you and what you do. I think that's how art's always been for me. I always get commissions from my friend, his name is Yumi, and sure, I could go generate something off of a piece I made and go put it into like, one of those sites like, Wall-E or anything like that, or Dolly, whatever it's called. And it can get pretty close to what I'm looking for. But even if it gets better, which we've seen it happen over like the past 4 years or so, I still think with artists, there's always going to be those details or that authenticity or exactly what you're looking for that AI is never going to be able to do because there's always going to be an inconsistency.
Well,
That's the
it's
way
a
I see it.
machine. There's no human aspect to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's a machine. Sure, it can do like, those set parameters perfectly, and sure, it may be learning, but there's got to be a point where that stops, right? I feel like there's a point where like even that, like it has like its limit, like its peak, like as good as it'll get. And I don't think it's gonna screw people out of their job that's doing art because games with certain art styles and all that, it's not gonna it's not gonna go anywhere because the companies want that distinct art style. They want you because you can deliver and it's what they want.
Fair
Right.
enough. Fair enough. A little bit more about AI. So, I think Twiz seen this at CES, but so there's a new monitor technology, or well, new monitor actually coming out, and it uses AI to enhance the player, and they give a few examples of this, right? So the specific example that I recall is, well, actually, there's a few. So League of Legends, you have the mini map on the bottom, right? Jabun, you played League, so you know this.
Unfortunately, I have,
Yeah.
but
So the monitor actually scans the what image is going on, and it'll add elements to the screen that'll help you. So if there's someone pinging like a jungler, which is someone in the middle of the map that you want to avoid because they'll kill you. So if someone did that and you're not paying attention to that, right? You're in the middle of like maybe you're fighting someone on top lane, for example. It'll actually in the middle of your screen it'll do a red arrow or something to let you know that there's like a there's danger over there or like north or whatever. And this is kind of concerning because this happens at the hardware level. This is not software. So this happens on the monitor itself. Your computer's doing no.
Well, the monitor itself has its own.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like this happens all through the screen software / hardware. There's nothing on your computer that's running that's like, hey, this might be a cheat or something. No, this is all happening from the monitor. And another example is I think either Call of Duty or Battlefield or something, where it would like highlight if there's a ping on the minimap from a UAV and you weren't paying attention, right? It would actually show you like an arrow where that ping was to see like, okay, so there's someone in this direction or something. So is this cheating? And this is, they call it more like enhancing your gameplay or AI assistive smart monitors, but I think this is, we're looking at kind of like a Cronus Zen-esque trend that we're gonna go through here.
I was gonna say, I know you can't really compare the two to an extent because Chronos Zen was for like controller inputs and all that, but Chronos Zen happened at a hardware level, and this monitor, if it's doing it at a hardware level and doing what you're saying, like showing pings or arrows and all that, it makes me wonder, like, is
But
any
even
third
though,
party like input just not gonna be allowed?
even though the Cronus Zim is at a hardware level, it still has a signature whenever you plug it in.
And people were
Just like-
saying that
Just like the monitor will have a signature.
it will,
when you
but
plug it
people
in.
are saying that the games are not going to ban you from using a monitor because you can just disable the AI features. This is a feature.
Just like people said that games weren't going to ban you from using the Cronus Zim.
Well, the Cronus Zen's main use was for cheating. This is a monitor. It's a piece of hardware that displays an image. We have monitors. Everyone has a monitor.
Be careful
Yeah,
with
but-
what monitor you buy.
But the thing is, you can kind of compare it the same thing with the Zen too, because it'd be almost like having like a built-in ESP that just can't be detected unless they add that into the game.
And you can
or into
spoof
Windows.
the hardware
I mean, is
signature.
it-
You can
is
Yeah,
it
they
spoof
did
that.
that with the Zen.
Yeah.
But is it a built-in ESP though? Because
It is.
from what I'm from what I'm gathering, all right, you would have to have a UAV up. It has to scan the little mini map, and if you're not paying attention to it, then yeah, it's helping you. But at the same time, all it's doing is displaying. I'm playing devil's advocate here. All it's doing is displaying the information that's already available there to you.
That's a good point, and I'm glad you're playing devil's advocate because that's another thing that was brought up. There's a limitation to the human reaction and eyesight, okay? So if I'm looking at my screen directly, I don't know what's happening there. I don't know what's happening there. That's a limitation of the human eyes, right? Hold on.
All right, so
Hold on. So it's not necessarily ESP in the sense like you can see through a wall. Sure, okay. But if I'm in an intense shootout, like I'm me and someone else in Call of Duty right now, we're shooting each other. I'm not paying attention to what's happening on the little radar, right? I physically can't because I'm in the middle of shooting someone. But this tells me, hey, there was just some like gunshot right to your directly to your left. Now you're starting to be, this is not the player being good now. This is the monitor like telling you, hey, there's something over there. So this is beyond.
Yeah, but at the same time, all right, the human eye can only see so much. You're focused on that shooting. There's a UAV up, and you've got 6 other pings all around the monitor. Personally, I think for most people, that's going to be even more distracting and going possibly worsen their gameplay compared to it, particularly in first-person shooters, compared to just having a regular monitor.
That's fine, but in Fortnite, everyone uses the visual sound aid. So if you think that's distracting, the pros in Fortnite are already proving you that it's incorrect. because
Well,
everyone
that's a
uses
I
that.
think it'd be very
That's
subjective per game.
that's a visual sound aid. That isn't multiple pop-ups all around your monitor.
It's not a pop-up. It could be as simple as a little arrow that just tells you, hey, there was something over there. Hey, there was something over there. Exactly like the Fortnite steps thing.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is. Technology's getting better. You're just gonna have to adapt and see what happens. I don't know.
But
In
the
a
thing
way,
is,
yes, you could consider it cheating. And yes, you could also take it as technically you can already see that happening on the monitor. So therefore, all it's doing is giving you a little bit of a visual aid, which is already integrated in some games, such as Fortnite.
but to be on a pro level or even competitive level now,
I don't
you
I
can
don't think
purchase this $1,000 or whatever how much it is monitor, and you will have a clear, distinct advantage from someone that doesn't have it.
while you're at home.
Or you can bring it with you to a tournament.
I don't
They
think that
wouldn't
they'll
allow it at a
allow you to
tournament.
plug it up at a tournament. They don't allow you to plug up certain things at a tournament.
Fair, but there are tournaments that happen at home, so even then, you're still it's ruining the sense of player
Again,
skill, in my opinion.
again, the monitor will have a signature just like the Cronus Zim does. Just like right now, I can go to my settings on my PC and it literally lists the name and model of every monitor plugged into this computer right now.
I understand, but as Jaboon said, you can spoof that very easily to where it doesn't know it's connected.
Well, he
It's a
said
generic
that.
monitor.
He could speak.
Oh, okay.
He
You
said that, but
Oh, okay.
Spoof
I just think
what?
it's going to be a very
The only
subjective
time I've
thing.
said spoof is whenever I said you can spoof a telephone number. That's the
Oh,
only time I've
maybe
said
I said that.
spoofing.
I may have said that, but yeah, you can spoof any piece of hardware connected via USB to be whatever you want it to be. Like I can make this mouse think that it's a controller. So
Right, but the monitor's not connected USB, it's connected HDMI or
well, HDMI,
DisplayPort.
same thing. Anything that's connected to the motherboard, pretty much. I'm saying.
I mean, at the end of the day, you'll have that.
I think you will have that. It's just a matter of we saw the
Yeah.
Cronus Zen get moderated. If this ends up being a
The
problem,
Cronus Zim has been completely banned on PlayStation.
yeah. But what I'm
Completely.
saying is, if it ends up being a problem, like we're talking about it being, if it gets that bad, we'll see things happen. Hopefully, it won't take as long as the Cronus Zen did. I think it'll be very subjective per games, and I think that it'll be moderated in a way that's healthy to consumers buying it.
Do I
I hope
think
so.
The pro gamers.
do I think that it should be out there like that? Probably not.
It's funny
Do
because
I
the
think
makers of it have said, "Don't use this for cheating" as a joke, because they know it's borderline. It is literally on the border of it.
Yeah. Well, do I think that Fortnite should have put the visual aids in for footsteps and stuff? No. But they did.
Well, that's something different. That was originally intended for accessibility and stuff like that.
But they knew that people that didn't need it would use it. So this
But
accessibility thing, I'm sorry, not to try to exclude anybody or anything like that, but if you're going to add accessibilities and make things accessible for people that can't, hear or move their fingers in a certain way because of arthritis or what have you, there's a potential there for cheating. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're either going to make your game accessible for these people, or you're going to say, you know what? I'm sorry that you have these dysfunctions in life, but for the integrity of our game, we cannot implement these accessibilities. And that sucks. It really, really does. But at the same time, like, you have a competitive game. Why are you trying to make it accessible for every single person if it's competitive? That would be like, for example, I'm not hating on anybody with disabilities. Please don't think that I am. But for example, that would be like putting a paralyzed person from the waist down out on the soccer field to try to play soccer in a bionic fucking uh bottom half of their body.
hmm I mean, I get that, and I see where you're coming from. I'm just talking about the monitor and how it quote unquote enhance. It's not an accessibility thing. This monitor is purely just showing off AI and how it could assist with your game and stuff like that. but it's definitely something to keep track of, especially because I wanted to add in at the very end. They're making all the AI stuff, not open source, but you can develop things for it. So it's not like you can only do Call of Duty or something. People can develop stuff to get the data that the monitor's collecting and do something else with it. Whether that be putting boxes now around people to highlight them or whatever.
I don't like AI. I really don't. I don't think that it really has too many use cases
Oh, I think
other
it has
than
tons of use cases. It's just being
other
used.
than being a personal assistant.
Right,
Period.
right.
I think AI should stay out of a lot of things.
And sorry, one more thing I forgot to mention about this monitor. It can also take enemies, like for example in Warzone. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that game. It's very popular. So in Warzone, if there's an enemy far away, you can barely see them. They're probably like, little black dude. This monitor can actually see that and highlight them, like make a bright green box on them so you can see them easier. So it is what it is. You'll have that. Hopefully this isn't gonna be a trend in the future where a lot of monitors are gonna push this, because I really don't want to have another Corona Zen situation pop up.
Well, it's just going to be down to how much money did you spend on your equipment
to be
dictates
good.
how good you are.
Yeah, and I really think that's a horrible road to go down. Because, anyways, so Jaboon, do you want to talk about what happened with Joe Blackburn and Bungie?
Yo, all right. So I know we probably talked. I keep bringing up Destiny in like almost every episode with good reason, hopefully. Some pretty spicy stuff has went down lately, and I didn't really cover it or like think about it. But Joe Blackburn, the game director for Destiny, Destiny 2, he has left the company. That he got fired. I don't know the exact one. I didn't check like if it was fired or leaving, but I read the article a little bit. He is no longer a part of Bungie. That is the guy who's been there for years and was an avid Destiny fan before he joined the company. And now he's just poof, he's gone. Before a new expansion comes out, by the way. And I know I give Destiny a lot of shit. That's just it comes from a like passion. I used to play the game a lot. I used to like the original Destiny. Destiny 1 was very fun. Destiny 2 had its peaks, and then right now it's at the lowest, but we won't talk about that. I just want to know, what do you guys think? Like, was this just like a matter of time before this happened? Like, what's gonna happen with the studio with this new expansion coming out?
So for me, I think this is kind of very eerie and maybe telling to the future of Bungie and the Destiny franchise, and I don't think it's a good thing. Joe Blackburn has been a huge fan of Destiny. He's been the director. Like, who else, right? And the fact that the director just ups and leaves before a major expansion is kind of telling to maybe things are coming at an end. Or I mean, they just had that huge layoff, right? They had a huge layoff. So that's also kind of worrying. So you got a layoff now, and your director just left. I don't know if this is a good sign here. I know lately Destiny's been struggling with player retention. Their content's been very dry. The whole seasonal thing isn't working out. I don't like their seasonal approach. I was way more into their expansions. I think Shadowkeep and
Shadowkeep is where it started.
yeah, that's kind of like I don't know. Their last good expansion, in my opinion, was what was the one that you liked?
Forsaken, right?
Forsaken was to me the last good hurrah. After that, they kind of switched over to this seasonal model, and it's so watered down, and the story is just you like seriously you get a quest or two.
Hit you with FOMO.
The FOMO too, yeah. They hit you with a quest or two, and they're like, oh, okay, well, got us on the next episode. It's I don't like the model personally.
It's all over the place.
It
You
really
think it
is.
got better with them leaving Activision, or Activision? It got worse. Like, we all were
Yeah.
led to believe that it was Activision behind all these issues, with, especially Destiny 2. And then Activision gone. They go to Steam. Nothing got better. Nothing got better.
No, it really didn't. And I think this is kind of spelling out maybe it's either
Maybe it's time for Bungie at the Destiny department to shut down their doors. I think we're finally seeing like the end of what was honestly a lot of people's childhood or like their years going through college, like this game that everybody's held in like such a high, pedestal.
Yeah, yeah. And it's sad because there's still a huge market for a game like Destiny. I mean, you see Warframe, Remnant 2 was hugely popular. There's still a huge market for a looter shooter. And it's a
It just needs to be
shame.
done right.
Exactly. It's a shame that
Well, it has
it
to be
turned into
done
that.
right, and you can't just keep copying and pasting the same textures over and over and over and over again. Like for me, that game bled together so much that it was just mind numbing, and I couldn't play it very long
Hmm.
because everything looked the same. Everything looked very
The
just
color, the
copy and
color
pasted.
palette was very
The
limited, right?
color palette was limited. The most places were super boxy, like just looked like I was in a Tetris world. So, I don't know. I don't know.
It's
Do
just a
something
shame.
else.
And it makes you wonder too, like what's gonna happen with Marathon if like on this end with Destiny, Bungie's just done. Like, this is gonna be it. This is like the final hoorah. I don't think a Destiny 3, if that's even in the plan, is gonna happen. I really don't.
I think with
I
the
don't know.
goodwill slash not really goodwill anymore with the player base they've built, I think Destiny 3 just wouldn't have that big launch. I really don't.
Not with the spit in the face with Lightfall.
Yeah, I think they kind
The
of
Destiny
pulled
community.
right.
Alright, go ahead.
No, you're good. I think they kind of pulled what Rock started with Red Dead 2 online. Is they've essentially and sorry, Overwatch 2 as well. They've demolished the hope of the game. There's no hope for it. If Rockstar were
Yeah.
to release a Red Dead 3 online part, I don't think many people would invest their time in it because they've seen how Rockstar just
Look at
dropped
what
the
they
ball.
did Red Dead 2.
Yeah, and they had
That
such a
last
success.
mistake lingers, man.
I'm sorry.
That last mistake, it lingers. Like
Yeah, no, exactly. And then Overwatch 2.
nobody forgets what you do.
Exactly. And then Overwatch 2, you had this whole promise of PvE, and we're going to build this really cool, like, storyline and all this, and it just nothing. All of it got cut. So you essentially have Overwatch 1 just copy and pasted to 2. Or at least the same kind of mentality, I should say. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think that is honestly more detrimental than a bad launch because it completely killed the hope for the game. You have no hope for it anymore, which is hard to do. I mean, there's not many games that have done this. So that's definitely interesting. And, I don't think a Destiny 3 launch would go well. I personally hope the best thing that can come out of this is that we see a huge shift in their monetization and their expansion policies. And hopefully they go back to expansions and making more story-rich things. But again, with the director leaving like right before a big launch like this, it's not a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing.
Not at all.
Yeah. But do you guys have anything else to add, or will we have that?
You'll
I think
have.
we're just gonna have that.
Yeah.
But
Now.
speaking of crushing hopes, you had the Megan the Stallion, Nicki Minaj beef thing. Megan killed it. I will say, Megan came out. She hit him with hiss. That's the her diss track, but it wasn't directed towards anybody really. She never said any names, anything like that. It was, you know, fairly classy. And then you had Nicki Minaj go onto an Instagram live and lose her mind. Literally, you've seen her losing her mind, and then she comes out with her own diss track, um, saying Megan the Stallion's name, speaking on her dead mom, which I think is
Beyond messed up.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's off limits.
You should definitely leave the dead, dead. So you just literally saw her losing her mind. So much so, another smaller artist named Famous. she came out and did a diss as well towards Nicki. Again, didn't mention her name, but did hit her with some key facts like the whole Nicki and Kim beef, Lil Kim and stuff like that, and basically telling her that she's a bully and she needs to quit thinking that everybody's coming for her fake crown and stuff, and this is why she treats other female artists the way she does. Um, my opinions of it, Nicki, your diss track was weak. It's very beatable.
She needs her ghostwriter to step up, you know.
And I'm not gonna say okay, she had a ghostwriter, because I've heard that Nicki has a ghostwriter. I've heard that Megan has a ghostwriter. I do believe that Nicki did admit at some point that she's used a ghostwriter. So okay, maybe you should do that. But you came at Megan for having surgery. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't your ass deflate at some point in your career?
Oh my gosh.
And you had to get that fixed. So
Oh
coming at
no.
somebody for some sort of surgery that they've done, body augmenting surgery that they've done, weak.
Kind of hypocritical.
All right. Hypocritical, weak, the hypocrisy.
Maybe her ego was too inflated.
Pot, meat, kettle. Okay. Um, so yeah, there's that. What else did she do? That I already touched on the mother thing. That was disgusting. Um,
Weaponizing her fan base.
you weaponize. Well, I'm getting to that.
Ah.
You even went as far as to hint that Megan the Stallion wasn't shot. Meanwhile, her shooter went to court, got convicted, and is sitting in jail. Again, weak. You are showing weakness for someone that is a self-proclaimed queen of rap. All you're showing me is weakling, is what you're showing me. Now, you weaponized your fan base too. So far to the point of one of your fans even got Megan the Stallion's mom's Graves address and posted it online. And I'm not sure if it was Nicki Minaj or the fan themselves that said, Barb's, you know what to do. And that cemetery had to beef up security. Imagine this. You have to hire security for a graveyard, bruh, over a rap beef.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, that's
Not
insane.
only Nicki Minaj, are you insane and should probably retire while the getting's
Probably.
good, but your fucking fans are psychos. I used to be a big Nicki Minaj fan. Like, I wasn't a Barb per se, but I liked her music. It was alright. But now, like, honey, you could have went at so many other things other than, faking like you got shot, going after her because she's tall and calling her Bigfoot. Like, nah, weak.
No, dude, that's
Very,
weak. That's
very,
weak.
very, 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 very weak. In a time of juggernauts, in a time of giants, where you have people like Eminem. Okay. Um,
Machine Gun Kelly.
well, MGK, weak.
I was just gonna say he's
In my
massively
opinion,
popular. That's all.
I mean, he's massively popular. His diss track towards Eminem was hit way harder than this Nicki Minaj shit did.
And that was
Promise
bad
you
too.
that.
Yeah.
Promise you that. But at the end of the day, he got whipped so hard he went to what, rock and pop right out of the genre. So
Yeah.
whatever. But you have juggernauts like 50 Cent, The Game, Eminem, all of them, and you come with that. All right. Megan, She said what she said. She hasn't said anything else. And she's let it lie. She's showing, honestly, who the queen is, you know? You even came at her of her body count, how many people she slept with. Honey, really? She fucking
Really?
made WAP. She made WAP, and
It just doesn't make sense, dude. No,
you're
it doesn't.
coming at her and basically calling her a whore. The
But you made
woman
what?
that made WAP with Cardi B. Laying
On that playing field, I think they really neither of them have anything to talk about there.
well, I mean, no, but Megan didn't come at her for that.
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You know,
From someone
but
that isn't really into rap, looking into this, I think Nicki's definitely in the wrong, and
oh,
it's
absolutely.
disgusting behavior, to be honest with you.
But Nicki's whole camp, like if you look at so Nicki's camp, right, is Nicki Minaj, Drake, Lil Wayne, and I believe Chris Brown at one time, but he may or may not still be with them.
Mm-hmm.
But her whole camp's going kind of Looney Tunes, right? So you have Nicki Minaj with that craziness on Instagram, and then her diss track, you know, quote diss
Right,
track
right.
coming out, and then you've got Drake February 1st, first day of Black History Month, accidentally
Quote unquote.
dropping
Right.
dropping a fat video on Instagram of himself. Like, what's really going on? Did all of y'all drop the brown acid? Is that what happened?
Something's going on. There's something
Yeah.
deeper to it. There's got to be.
So, you know,
And
I
let's
don't
all
know.
be
What do you
honest here.
guys think?
This could, I mean, this could be a publicity stunt. We don't
It
know.
could
It
be.
could be.
It
The
could be,
chances are
but
kind of low,
it's
though.
one bad publicity stunt if you're
But
going after somebody's dead mama.
but is it though? Because it is getting a lot of people to talk about them. It is putting a light on
People
them.
already talk about them. Why would
People
they
to
need that?
talk about them, but you also have a lot of people that were diehard Nicki fans once she went after Megan's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Literally say, I'm not listening to Nicki Minaj music anymore, stuff like that. So, you know, granted, in the grand scheme of things, maybe losing a few thousand fans isn't that big of a hit, but it's still a hit. You're losing fans, not gaining them.
I mean, it goes back to the old saying, you know, any publicity is good publicity.
And to be honest, at the end of the day, maybe it was a publicity stunt from Megan the Stallion's side, not so much Nicki's.
And maybe she's so far gone, she doesn't realize how offensive and
How
just
ludicrous
she sounds. I mean,
right.
going after someone's deceased relatives is already
Well, her
insane.
track. So I don't think you've even listened to Nicki's track, right?
Me or Jaboon, or both of us.
Either of you.
So
So the
I don't think
last
so.
minute of Bigfoot, the last minute
Mhm.
is literally Nicki Minaj, no music, no beat, rambling. She's not even rapping. She's just
Talking, yeah.
talking and telling Megan that she went easy on her this time, that she has a bunch of receipts and it'll be way worse if she doesn't stop and this, that, and the other. And it's all like, bitch, this is supposed to be a rap. Why
She's in
are
a
you
Twitter canceling
talking?
thread.
Why are you talking? And it's in this weird ass low monotone voice. Like, girl, are you, do you really
You
have split
okay?
personalities like you suggest with Roman and the Barbie and all this stuff, or are you just too coked out of your brain to really, give the fans
A
a
concise, yeah,
coherent,
coherent, right?
coherent track?
Yeah, that's that is wild. Definitely wild. I'm telling you, I'm fully team Megan here. I think Nicki is. It's time to retire the crown.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
but I
not gonna
mean,
speak too much on Cardi.
Oh, I
I
was
do
about to
know that
say, yeah, Cardi is in this too, isn't
I
she?
do know that Cardi came out and did a little statement. She didn't do a diss track or anything, but she did do a little statement, and she said, Yeah, me and Nicki had issues. We were gonna do a song together. Nicki wouldn't even come into the studio with me while I was there, and then all of a sudden, Nicki changes the lyrics in a song that we're doing together, and makes lyrics that are firing shots at her, at Cardi B, in a collaboration song. So
I'm right in the head.
if that doesn't tell you that this woman is so scared of this fictional crown being taken from her,
Yeah.
because to be honest with you, Cardi, her stuff hits pretty hard. I like Cardi B, but if that doesn't tell you something, like in an industry that is already so male dominated anyways, why would you attack another female artist? You should come together, you should help each other.
Well,
But
isn't Nicki
instead
all
you want to
about female
backbite.
power and all that?
Supposed to be, but every female artist, like, she came into the game attacking one of the old school queens of rap, Lil Kim, and ever since it's been the same thing.
Hmm.
She surrounds herself with male artists like Drake, Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, and attacks the female artists. And yeah, maybe that was a good look in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, but it damn sure isn't a good look now, sweetheart.
Times have changed.
Yeah, I think she's just not good. Rotten apple, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Well, I think that about sums it up. That what a crazy topic to end on, huh?
Like it's just all been
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
but crazy lately, guys. From
Yeah.
going all the way from A-Lamals, aliens at the mall, down to now we even have Nicki Minaj
To be
going
honest,
absolutely
I
bonkers.
think I do think that 2024 looked at 2023 and told it to hold my beer.
It honestly feels like that. We're not even like 2 months in, and it just feels like there's already crazy things going on.
Yeah.
Whether it be with customer support from companies, video games, real life
AI.
rappers, AI, it's all over the place. And we're not even like 2 months into the new year.
Yeah.
Is this just gonna how it's gonna be for the rest of the year? I mean, if so, it's crazy, but I'm all here to cover it.
There you
Right.
go.
If so, it's great content, but at the
Right.
same time, it's like, holy shit,
It's
can we
like, holy
slow
shit,
down
this
a
is
little bit?
happening.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah,
I'm tired of living in history making months.
That's true.
right.
Well, all right, everyone.
Alright.
Thank you so much for joining us on season 1, episode 4. Again, I apologize for the whole Friday thing. Just we had some technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll be on track for Tuesdays again. And please do check us out on Spotify. Give us a listen. If you're on Spotify, head over to YouTube. You can physically see us. We have our videos up, and we have a little like topic thingy, and you can come chat. We'll react to chat live. And also, please, you can send us topics if you'd like. On Spotify, after you listen, there's a little survey that says, what did you think of the episode? You can submit whatever you'd like, and we see that. Or on YouTube,
We read everything.
Yeah, we read everything. On YouTube, you can either comment, or if you're coming in live, we'll react to your chat as we're doing the episode, if it's a live episode. And we'd really like to thank you guys. It's been awesome. And do you guys have anything to add on, or?
I mean, all I gotta
No,
really say
we'll
is
see you next week, and you'll have that.
you'll have that. We'll see you next Tuesday, and you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday whenever this gets uploaded. All right.
Alrighty, guys. Yep, you will have that, and see you guys next time.